And teaching the pathways to personal potential for over 20 years. His mic is on, by the way, yes. What's up, Doug? Say hi, Doug.
Good morning.
All right. Here, hold on. I'm reading something. Give me a second. So his book called The Ripple Effect has been widely read and endorsed all over the world. His companies, writing, teaching, training, music, they're all designed to help you reach your God-given potential. It is my personal pleasure and honor to bring up a dear friend of mine, a friend that didn't have a beard when I met him, a guy who's actually a sharper dresser than me now. I don't know how this happened, but a dear, great friend of mine, Mr. Doug Grady. Give it up for ladies and gentlemen for Doug Grady. Love you, brother.
Good morning. You know, my background happens to be in insurance sales. I know we have some insurance sales people in the room today. Who are you? Used to be a good way to clear the room is to let them know that you are in insurance sales. And initially, my start was not what you would call a top producing status. I had no money when I started, and roughly 6 months later, I had less money than when I started. And I had a conversation with my manager at the time. His name is James, and I said to James, I said, man, I don't think I'm cut out for this business. And he said, yeah. I said, I think I'm going to quit. He said, okay. I said to James, I know it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Boss, I'm leaving sales tomorrow. Seems to me, you know, I've done all I can. My friends won't let me borrow. No, that's why I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. Why in the world won't anyone buy from me? They won't do what I tell them. Everybody wants me to give it to them for free. They're not happy when I try to sell them. No, that's why I'm leaving. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I don't want to sell nothing. Already sold my house, my car, and my wife's ring. That's it. I quit. I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. I said I'm leaving sales Tuesday morning. And you know, it really was a close call. Maybe you've had one of those close calls. Maybe you're in a close call right now. I had a second conversation with James. I said, James, I am going to quit, but first I will set a record with this company. He said, whatever, dude, just get back to work. It was around that time somebody recommended my very first motivational seminar. Do any of you remember your very first motivational seminar? Is this your very first motivational seminar? Or look, maybe it was a book or a coach in high school. Maybe it was a training, like something happened and then life was different. You know, I went to this particular seminar. There was a man by the name of Brian Tracy and a book called Think and Grow Rich, which Eric has already referenced. And within about 3 months of this conversation with James, I actually did set a record for this company. I wrote 18 life insurance apps in 1 week, which back then was a record for this company. And I remember James coming up to me the next day. He said, are you going to quit now? I'm like, dude, I'm good now. I like it here. And it's amazing when you get to that next level how different life can be. And for so long, have you ever done this? I said, you know, it must have been that seminar. It must have been that man, that book that did it to me. But I've come to realize, and I wonder if you would agree with this, no matter how great the seminar is, no matter how great the speaker is, the book, the training, the seminar, nobody can do it to you without your permission. Isn't that true? It takes a level of choice, a commitment on your part. Positive change begins with a choice. So today I'm going to give you a very simple formula for creating long-lasting transformation in any area of your life, and also how to create specifically a ripple effect in whatever you are up to, how one choice can change the course of your life. Positive change begins with a positive choice. I'm reminded of that great Canadian philosopher, Grady, who said, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So I'll begin and end with the same question. What one simple choice will change the course of your life? And I'll share with you how this ripple effect actually happened for me and several other people. Positive change begins with a choice. Choice is step number one. Now, you may have had times in your life, but you've made a choice and not much has changed. You've seen these programs like, I think they're called 21-Day Fix, the 24-Day Challenge, 30-Day this, 40. We have a program called 40 Days of Focus, in which case you engage in a personal discipline for guess how many days. Very good. There's P90X. Have you heard of this before? You know what all of these programs have in common? Most people quit somewhere between days 5 and 8. Now, if you quit a 90-day program, a 40-day program, a 21-day program, somewhere between days 5 and 8, you can never say that program didn't work. All you can say is what? You quit the program. Let me tell you what's going to happen. If you do P90X for 8 days, you're still out of shape. You're still overweight. You're still angry, and you'll never work out again because you're so sore. It's not an 8-day program. It's a 90-day program. So step number 2 in creating a positive change in your life and creating a ripple effect is you must find a way to stay the course. To do it when you don't feel like it, when you don't want to, when the weather's bad, when you have every excuse in the world coming up, you've got to find a way to stay the course. You know, Eric mentioned that I look a little different today. If you've seen me on any other stage, I don't know if I've ever been on a big stage like this with this growth on my face. And every once in a while, I'll see somebody. In fact, I think it was Mike Green today. I walked in, he said something very profound. He said, dude, you're growing a beard. But this is only partially accurate because, you know, Mike, I'm not growing the beard. The beard grows itself. In fact, you have to do something to stop the growth of a beard. It's called what? It's called shaving. So, you know, we do stuff to stop our personal growth, to stop our productivity, to kill sales. Many of you are salespeople. Do you know that you do stuff to kill sales? You do stuff to stop your productivity, to hinder your personal, professional, and spiritual growth. So part of life becomes, what is that stuff that I'm doing? And stop doing that stuff. Staying the course means you don't do the stuff that keeps you from engaging in your personal and professional and spiritual disciplines. Step number 2 is to stay the course. Now, step number 3, most personal and professional development programs, they really live in this area of step number 1 and number 2. They say, hey, let's do the work, stay committed, be persistent, and life will change. Now, there is some truth to this. If all you do is you make a commitment to go to the gym every day for 40 days, will your life change? You know, the hardest part about the workout for most people is not the workout. Do you know what it is? It's getting to the gym. If you can actually get yourself into the gym, it's a lot easier to actually work out. Most of the time, the workout's not nearly as hard or tedious as we make it in our minds to be. I don't always like going to the gym. I do like leaving the gym because I just did something that makes a difference, makes me feel better. I think more clearly. I'm more focused. So life can be like that. Discipline can be like that. The hardest part of the study is shutting off Facebook and opening up the book. The hardest part about prayer and meditation is just closing your eyes or opening up a Bible. The hardest part about those 30 calls is making that first one. It's taking that first step. It's doing the studies that actually say that if you see your workout clothes within the first 30 seconds of waking up, you have a much better chance of actually working out. So it's taking that first step. So a lot will change if all you do is do the work and show up. But the real power and what we focus a tremendous amount of energy in is step number 3, and this is called paying attention. It means paying attention to the impact of the choices that you made, the impact of the discipline, the impact of staying the course, and its implications for your life and every significant aspect of your life. This all kind of shook out for me. Some of you know my story. 7 years ago, after being in this industry for quite some time, achieving a certain level of success, I just ended up stuck, to put it mildly. I was physically in perhaps the worst shape of my life, mentally dull, emotionally what you might call in the South scattered, smothered, and covered. That's a Waffle House joke. Nobody? I was heavily in debt, mostly to the IRS. They don't like that. I was drinking excessively. I had a bad attitude, and this was on a pretty good day. And I had been to all the seminars. I mean, heck, I had led the seminars. It wasn't lack of knowledge. It wasn't lack of resources, lack of information. Something was just off. Now, when men in North America, when they have a midlife crisis, we have a couple of go-tos. What do men typically go to in North America when they have a midlife crisis? Cars and women. These are the top 2 answers on the board. But you know, these things require money. I did not have any money. So I just went to my desk. I mean, it was really just a card table at the side of my kitchen in my apartment. And I just had a little breakdown. I put my head on the desk. I threw my hands up and I said, God, I give up. I can't do this anymore. Just tell me what to do and I will do it. And I meant it. Now, I am not unfamiliar to praying for business. I used to pray all the time for business. I'd say, God, give me wisdom, give me strength, give me the ability to make good decisions, and please just give me some sales. But this was a very different request, if you will. And I believe so many times our help is one ask away. And listen, I got an answer like never before in my life of what to do. It was a 1-2 punch. Punch number 1, you have been given much. I just started taking inventory of what could I look at in my life as gifts if I wanted to. I looked at my family, my friends, people that still had my back. I still had a roof over my shoulders. I was not sure for how long. I was 3.5 months behind on my rent. I still had a car. I still had food. You have been given much. I went to my first mission trip 3 months prior to this. And I got to see, by contrast, people that had been given far less. No food. No water. Not even sure where their next meal would come from or if they'd even be alive the next day. By contrast, most of us have been given much. Punch number 2, and this is the one that kind of doubled me over. You are giving very little. Now, I wasn't completely stagnant. I would go through the motions. I'd show up to meetings. I'd make a few calls here and there, but I was not fully engaged. I'd like this to be a gut check for you. How are you showing up this year for yourself, your company, the people you lead, that you love, and that you serve? I remember my father one day telling me a story about a man preaching in a mental institution. And the man said, now why are we all here? And someone said, because we're not all there. Have you ever been there, but you're just not all there? If you have no idea what we're talking about right now, this is probably you. So life changed for me in one moment. And life can change for you in one moment. It started with a choice. I said, I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm going all in for 6 months. Now, this is a poker term. Do we have any poker players in the room today? Wow. Enough for a full table. Awesome. So raise your hand if you're close to me and you've ever played poker. Okay, ma'am. Could you please explain this term all in and what can happen when you go all in? Okay. So what she said is you can lose everything. What happens is you have everything at your disposal at this moment, all your resources. There's about maybe $300 in here. Everything that you have at this moment, you have to let go of it. And as soon as you do, one of two things can happen. You get it all back. You call, thank you, sir. You get it all back, plus his cell phone, all his cash, everything else on the table, or what? You lose everything! And this four-letter word that starts with an F kicks into your brain and body. Do you know what it is? Fear is the word we're looking for. Thank you. Fear. Because you can get it all back, but you can lose everything. And this is what happens right now when you're faced with one simple choice that can change the course of your life. It's yeah, but, and that little voice creeps in. My first choice had nothing to do with business, nothing to do with debt, nothing to do with sales. I made a commitment to physical exercise for 30 days for 30 minutes per day. Right there about day 5 to 8, first 5 days, no problem. I think it was around day 7. I was coming back from Houston, Texas. God bless Texas. And I got back to the door of my apartment at approximately 11:17 p.m. Now, if you're doing some math here right now, 43 minutes to do a 30-minute commitment to physical exercise or not. And that little voice inside my head started talking. Do you know the one? The one that lets you off the hook. What does your little voice say to you when it wants to let you off the hook, to talk you out of something you made a commitment to? That's cool. I'll do it tomorrow. A lot of men have this, I'll double up tomorrow. I remember feeling so noble. I'm still sore from yesterday. I should probably recover for one more day. No matter how cute or clever or interesting that voice sounds, that voice is not your friend. That voice is not even you. It wants to destroy you from the inside. It wants to talk you out of your personal commitments that you made. And in this moment, I was able to choose a different voice. This voice came from my father. When I did not want to do those so-called character building activities of our youth. Do you know those activities? Do you have kids that don't like those activities? Wash your dishes, clean your room, mow the lawn, chop some wood. Did any of you have to chop wood as a child? This is like torture, right? Now we do it for exercise. But I would give my father those excuses. I don't feel like it. Didn't I chop wood last week? I'd like to go do something else. And he would respond with these 3 little words. Those words were do it anyway. And I hated those words because there's no rebuttal to do it anyway. There's no argument to do it anyway. And there's really no argument with your word. It's just a question. Are you going to do, Manny, what you said you would do? It's a yes or no scenario. So I use these words as a mantra. I got on the floor of my Atlanta apartment. I went through some movements and some motions that some people might consider to be exercise. There was nothing pretty about it. There was nothing pleasant about it. There may have been some 4-letter words involved, but at least after 30 minutes, I could say what? I did it. If you can pay attention to this, you can change the course of your life forever. I started applying this to other areas of my life. I said, well, how did that happen? I got to see what was missing in my life. It's the same thing that's missing in your life. In any area that you're not fully expressed, it's a lack of integrity. Integrity means you do what you say you're going to do, whether you like it or not. And when you do this, it develops certainty, it develops confidence, it develops momentum, and things will happen that would never happen otherwise. So I just started taking inventory. What's different about my life because of this choice? I started getting up earlier. I started reading things that were positive. I started surrounding myself with people that were calibrating at a much higher level than me. I let go of some people that just weren't healthy for me in my life. And things slowly but surely began to change. Some of these changes were simple. They were easy. There was no effort involved. Some of them were a little bit more challenging. I went from calling 3 to 5 people when I felt like it to calling 30 people, 30 prospects, every business day. Now, if you go from calling 3 to 5 people when you feel like it to calling 30 of your prospects or 30 key people every business day, do you think something might change? I'm going to share with you exactly how this happened. And by the way, people called me a motivational speaker for 2.5 decades, but it wasn't motivation. It wasn't inspiration. It wasn't feeling good. I'd get to the end of the day, I'd still have about 11 calls to make, so I'd go into the database. I would find the 11 people that I was fairly sure and very hopeful would not answer the phone that day. And can you believe that on some of these days, someone had the audacity to answer the phone. Wow, Victor, I was hoping to leave you a message. And here it becomes very clear that change can have something to do with something other than this thing we call motivation. You know, it's possible to be unmotivated, uninspired, have a bad attitude, and still book a meeting with someone that can change the course of your life forever. Did you know that's possible? It doesn't take attitude. You know what it takes? It takes a phone. It takes putting your fingers on the phone, allowing that phone to ring, and if Victor answers the phone, don't be an idiot. That's what it takes to change the course of your life. Choice supersedes motivation, attitude, inspiration, feeling good. Positive change begins with a positive choice. When that little voice comes up, you can't do it, you're over the hill, you're too old, you're too young. Whatever that voice is for you, that keeps you from honoring yourself as your word, that keeps you from being the man, being the woman that you know yourself to be. You can cut through all that crap with those three little words. You remember what they are? Do it anyway. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Doug, I love traveling to come and see you speak because you literally bring these amazing nuggets that remind all of us of things that we need to do. You want to join me on the Awesome Couch?
Sure.
I begged to be able to interview you. I did. It's pretty comfy.
Yeah, it's
I
not
like
bad.
it. It's not bad at all. It's kind of right in the spotlight, but that's good for everybody to see us. So I love the do it anyway because we all have those moments in our lives where we don't. And we let that little voice, whoever it might be, talk us into not taking action. So what is another step that people can take? If they hear that voice, what's a way that they can either suppress it or tell it to shut up? Besides the do it anyway is such a great mantra. What's something else that these people could say to themselves that would get them over that hump of not wanting to do it or not feeling like it?
Well, you know, a good friend of mine, he told me, I don't know where he got this from. It was a seminar speaker, but he said, you know, your excuses or your commitments drive your life. And we've all been driven by excuses. We've all been driven by commitments. And when you are on the side of having your commitments honor your life more than your excuses, this is where confidence comes from, certainty comes from. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about where does certainty come from. You probably heard Tony Robbins talk about this. When you develop a sense of certainty in your body, it tends to translate to your mind and your soul and your energy. You've heard this before? But this is just part of it because certainty comes from honoring your word to yourself. If I lie to you, your trust in me will be diminished. If I lie to myself, my trust in myself will be diminished. If you lie to yourself, your trust in yourself is diminished. So confidence and certainty comes from doing what you say you're going to do and being in line with the person you say you are to be. And look, we all make mistakes. Gosh, nobody's perfect. But if you can consistently look for, am I being driven by my commitments or being driven by my excuses? That's a kind of a check-in for me.
I love that. That's fantastic. You're either driven by your excuses or you're driven by your commitments. Everybody write that down? You should write that down because that's a nugget. Are you going to be at the speaker party tomorrow night?
I will.
Oh, man. Who here would like to meet him and talk to him at the speaker party? Awesome. We might give out tickets to that later.
Okay, great.
So some of you may not know this. Some of the speakers...
If I'm the draw for the speaker party, wow.
So, y'all may not know this. Some of us speakers, we have a long-standing battle going with our socks. Let's see your socks today. Did you bring your A game? Oh, those are good looking.
Thank you.
I got lightning bolts. Who wins? Yeah, lightning bolts. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. They're still good though.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what? I'd love to get some of the audience. Maybe somebody has. Anybody here have a question for Doug? They'd love to ask. I know somebody has a question about commitment and actually driving. Has anybody faced one of these situations where you talked yourself out of actually doing what you said you were going to do? Anybody? Ooh, there's one right there. You want to share it? Awesome. Here comes the microphone.
Okay, I can certainly relate to the talking yourself out of going to the gym, exercise. And you're right. Every time I go, it feels good leaving. But what do you say to yourself when you get up, when the alarm goes off and you're just not in the mood to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes I do let myself off the hook. My wife and I just went to New Zealand and Australia for 2.5 weeks, and there were times I didn't work out when I said I would. But what I try to do is to say to myself, listen, are you going to lie? Are you a liar? Are you going to lie to yourself? Or are you going to do what you said you would do? That's part of what helps me, because I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to be that person that says something and does something else. I want to be a person that does what I say I would do. So I lock it in like, all right, you got a choice here. You can do what you said you would do, or you can lie to yourself. And either one's fine, but either one has consequences. Yeah, well, perhaps. I think part of what I strive to do is to keep when you can get into that groove. You get in a groove with one discipline, you pay attention to the impact of that discipline in every area of your life. That's where the ripple effect comes from. So I look at, well, if I make this commitment to physical exercise for 40 days, we just created a program called 40 Days of Fitness, where it's a track where you're doing something fitness and health oriented every day for 40 days and paying attention. What I do is I pay attention to the impact of that commitment in my finances, my family, my faith, my love, my wife, how it impacts how I show up with the people that are important to me, how it impacts how I feel about my life. So what we do in 40 Days of Focus and 40 Days of Fitness and 40 Days of Faith, all of the above, is you focus on one area and pay attention to how that impacts every other area of your life.
These are some great insights, Doug. You know, I heard a rumor. The rumor was you might have something for the audience.
I might.
You might? You want a gift? Who wants a gift from Doug Grady?
I might. So this.
All right, make note of who has their hand up. If they didn't raise their hand, they don't get it.
So I wrote this little book called The Ripple Effect. I brought 150 copies. They are not for sale. But the request is, if you would like one, come get it. And my request is that you do something that will create a ripple in somebody else's life. I paid for them. I shipped them here. The cost is on me. But the ask is that you do something, give of your time, talent, money, resources to something that's important to you. That's my request. If you're not willing to do that, don't grab a book. If you are willing to do that, be one of the first 150 people and grab a book. How's that sound?
That's fantastic. I think we'll do that right at the break. We have another speaker coming up, but we're going to do that at the break. That way we don't have people rushing back there and then coming back to their seats. So remember, when we cut for the break, we will be having the books in the back of the room. Yeah, we'll take one more question. We got a mic coming to her? Oh, go ahead.
How do you motivate a spouse?
I think we all want to hear the answer, Doug.
Wow. That may be my next seminar. Or maybe I should attend that seminar.
TheMotivatedSpouse.com.
I've been married for 2 years yesterday. And
Woo, give it up.
Congratulations.
He made it.
And, you know, what I strive to be for my spouse is a leader, doing what I say I'm going to do. I don't tell her what to do. I encourage her. And I ask her to look at what she's up to in such a way that her actions line up with that. And she does the same thing for me. You know, we go to there's a man by the name of David R. Hawkins. He's a spiritual advisor. He's passed away, but he's wrote a book called Power versus Force. And he is an extraordinary man, a psychologist, psychiatrist, a doctor, a therapist. And he says that to raise our consciousness, the most important person to do that is our partner in life. So if you want to raise yourself to your God-given potential, look at what your partner, your spouse, your significant other is for you and how that can grow you. So I look at how my wife makes me a better man, and hopefully that helps her be a better woman as well.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Doug. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for the gift. It's amazing.
Yeah,